Good Thursday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversations Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Well, we made it over the hump, and we're in the home stretch toward the weekend, and we've made it to the middle of July. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this Thursday. We have the truth of the day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and in today's entertainment spotlight, being part of my conversation with author and media personality Dawn Marie Westmoreland. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Thursday headlines. In national news, U.S. overdose deaths hit record 93,000 in pandemic last year. Overdose deaths soared to a record 93,000 last year in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. government reported on Wednesday. That estimate far eclipses the high of about 72,000 drug overdose deaths reached the previous year and amounts to a 29% increase. The nation was already struggling with its worst overdose epidemic, but clearly COVID has greatly exacerbated the crisis. Lockdowns and other pandemic restrictions isolated those with drug addictions and made treatment harder to get. While prescription painkillers once drove the nation's overdose epidemic, they were supplanted first by heroin and then by fentanyl, a dangerously powerful opioid, in recent years. Fentanyl was developed to treat intense pain from ailments like cancer, but has increasingly been sold illicitly and mixed with other drugs. Fentanyl was involved in more than 60% of the overdose deaths last year, the CDC data suggests. There's no current evidence that more Americans started using drugs last year. Rather, the increased deaths most likely were people who had already been struggling with addiction. Overdose deaths were just one facet of what was overall the deadliest year in U.S. history. With over 378,000 deaths attributed to COVID-19, the nation saw more than 3.3 million deaths. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reviewed death certificates to come up with an estimate for 2020 drug overdose deaths. The estimate of over 93,000 translates to an average of more than 250 deaths each day, or roughly 11 every hour. In more national news, summer setback, COVID deaths and cases rising again globally. COVID-19 deaths and cases are on the rise again globally in a dispiriting setback that is triggering another round of restrictions and dampening hopes for an almost normal summer of fun. The World Health Organization reported Wednesday that deaths climbed last week after 9 straight weeks of decline. It recorded more than 55,000 lives lost, a 3% increase from the week before. Cases rose 10% last week to nearly 3 million, with the highest number recorded in Brazil, India, Indonesia, and Britain. The reversal has been attributed to low vaccination rates, the relaxation of mask rules and other precautions, and the swift spread of the more contagious Delta variant, which the World Health Organization said has now been identified in 111 countries and is expected to become globally dominant in the coming months. In more national news, Biden meets Democrats at Capitol to firm up support for spending. President Joe Biden stepped up his bid to push its multi-trillion-dollar domestic plans through Congress on Wednesday, lunching with Senate Democrats a day after party leaders announced a compromise for pouring federal resources into climate change, health care, and family service programs. "It is great to be home," Biden told reporters as he left the building where he spent 36 years as a Delaware senator. "It is great to be with my colleagues, and I think we are going to get a lot done," he said. The closed-door midday session, which lasted just under an hour, was Biden's first working meeting with lawmakers at the Capitol since becoming president. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut said the president urged them to consider whether their plan would help people in blue-collar hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania. His point was that we need to be thinking about folks who have given up on democracy, Murphy said. Biden received 3 standing ovations from his fellow Democrats, said Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania. The meeting was the start of Biden's efforts to firm up support for forthcoming legislation embodying his priorities among Democrats whose skinny congressional majorities leave him with virtually no votes to lose. In international news, Olympic athletes to put on medals at Tokyo ceremonies. Athletes at the Tokyo Olympics will put their medals around their own necks to protect against spreading the coronavirus. The very significant change to traditional medal ceremonies in the 339 events was revealed on Wednesday by International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach. The medals will not be given around the neck, Bach told international media on a conference call from Tokyo. They will be presented to the athletes on a tray, and then the athlete will take the medal, him or herself. And finally, in business news, Powell says inflation, though elevated, will likely moderate. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said Wednesday that inflation, which has been surging as the recovery strengthens, will likely remain elevated in coming months before moderating. At the same time, in testimony to the House Financial Services Committee, Powell signaled no immediate change in the Fed's ultra-low interest rate policies. The Fed chairman reiterated his long-held view that high inflation readings over the past several months have been driven largely by temporary factors, notably supply shortages and rising consumer demand, as pandemic-related business restrictions are lifted. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's on time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Mary Ellen, take it away.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. Make every day a work of art. Any day can become a work of art when you make the choices necessary to surround yourself with beauty. You can turn on a television travel documentary or search the internet for beautiful works of art. Look around you to enjoy the experience of being in your own beautiful home. If it is not to your liking, take steps to clean it up, declutter, or organize. Try many of the online or retail stores to find art, copies, or museum pieces, or items of beauty you want to add to your home. You may ask neighbors or relatives, as they probably have these items gathering dust in their attic. It is hard to be stimulated, inspired, and playful in drab surroundings. When you change even a small part of your surroundings, your senses become aroused. You feel excited, and your joy of life returns. Today, surround yourself with loveliness, think beautiful thoughts, and dream beautiful dreams as you go about to enjoy the day.
Author and media personality Dawn Marie Westmoreland is featured in today's Entertainment Spotlight, right here on Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Author and media personality Dawn Marie Westmoreland joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, recently to talk about her new workbook, Stand Up to Workplace Bullying and Discrimination. Here's a bit of our conversation. You've been able to make a name for yourself as a media personality and an author. How does it feel now to have the workbook out and for the world to be able to experience it?
Well, it feels good. Like any author that's selling books, it feels good. It's not necessarily about the sale of the book, but it's helping people. And I remember being at a conference once where somebody said, don't try to be a bestseller, just write a book that helps people, whether it's hundreds or thousands or millions of people. And my book is a book meant to help, so it feels wonderful.
So let's talk about the why, because as I mentioned, you even share your own personal experience. Why did you decide that of all the things that you could write about with your background, Dawn, that you decided to write about workplace discrimination and bullying?
Well, it's the second book I've written. And the reason why I did it, let's go back about 9 years ago. And I was working for the second largest federal agency in the United States. And I experienced workplace bullying because I spoke up about the fact that there were only 5 black employees out of about 500 white folks. And with my background, I had, I guess at that time, about 22 years. Now I have about 30 years of HR experience. I knew that something was going on. I knew that there was some nepotism, illegal hiring of family and friends by power, people with power. And I knew that there was racial discrimination. So I spoke up, I did the right thing. I went to the management and said, hey, you know my background, you know that this is wrong, that, something has to be done about it. And then I got severe retaliation for a long time. And, it just about broke me because it went on 20 months. And I learned a whole lot. I learned a whole lot from the experience.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversations Daily News. But we'll have you guys on tomorrow to wrap up this week. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let's make today amazing. Take care.